I'm going to go through how to work out the gradient of a straight line. The gradient just means the slope. It's a measure of how steep a slope is or a line is. So when we want to find the gradient, we need to know 2 points, and we take the first point as being x1 and y1, and the second point being x2 and y2, and then we substitute it into that formula. Now that formula there, you must learn. That's the formula for the gradient. Okay, so that's to find the gradient of a line given 2 points. Now you'll also be able to work out the equation of the straight line. So two things going on, the gradient and the equation. We're going to work on the gradient just now. So we know that wee formula, and for this one here, we're going to find the gradient of the line joining those 2 points. So we take one of the points and we call it x1, we take the other point, we call it y1. We take the second point, the x-coordinate comes first, so that's x2, and that's y2. Now we know that the gradient, the symbol is m, and we know the formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So it's an easy formula to use as long as you learn that. Right, so y2 minus y1 is going to be 11 minus, now y1 is minus 5, so be careful if you've got negative signs. And that's all divided by x2, which is 8 minus 4. So when we work that out, that becomes 11 plus 5. So 11 plus 5 gives me a value of 16, and that's divided by 8, take away 4, which is 4. That means 16 divided by 4, so the gradient is 4. So it's an easy way to find the gradient, it's just substituting into that formula. Now, you can be given the 2 points like that, or they could give you 2 points that are on a grid. Doesn't matter. There's a wee grid there. You pick any 2 points you like. So that wee point's been labelled. So that's the point 0, 1. And that point there has been labelled, and that is the point 2, 7. Now be careful when you're doing this, because there's points that are not exactly on a line. That one's not exactly in a nice box, and neither is that one. So make sure you pick ones that are right in a box. Okay. So we're going to label them x1, y1, x2, y2. So we've identified 2 points. We're going to pick whole number ones, right? Don't want halves, and we're going to label them. So that's what we've done. So we know that gradient is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So when I substitute that in, I've got 7, and I want to take away 1. So 7 take away 1. And that's going to be divided by x2 minus x1, which is 2 take away 0. So 7 take away 1 gives us 6, 2 take away 0 is still 2. So therefore 3 divided by, 6 divided by 2, the answer is 3, so the gradient is 3. Now the gradient is positive, that's an indication it's sloping uphill. If your gradient comes out to be negative, it means it's going downhill. Now, you might just be given a wee diagram like that to find the gradient. So different ways that you can have it. So this one here is a wee diagram, but they have shown the 2 points. So we do minus 1, minus 3 as first point, 6, 2. Does not matter what order we take them in. We're going to label them. The first point, that's the x-coordinate of the first one. That's the y-coordinate of the first one. That's the x-coordinate of the second one. That's the y-coordinate of the second one. And I know the gradient formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And again, easy. If you know that formula, it's very easy to work out the gradient. So y2 minus y1 is 2 minus, and y1 is minus 3, so there's that double negative again. That's all divided by x2, which is 6 minus, and again, we've got a minus 1 in here. So 2 negatives make a positive, so that becomes 2 plus 3 is 5, divided by 6 plus 1, which is 7. So the gradient is 5 over 7. So that's different ways. You can just be given 2 points. You can be given a grid where you've got to pick 2 points on the line, or you could be given a wee sketch where it shows you 2 points. Now, next thing after that is we want to find the equation of a line. So the equation of any straight line is basically, when we've worked it all out, it should look like this. This is your general equation. Y is equal to mx plus c. So that's what we're ultimately looking for, y, an equal sign, so many x's, and c. So that's your gradient in there. C is your y-intercept. Okay, now to be able to find out your gradient of a straight line, you must use y minus b is equal to m times x minus a. Now, again, that must be learned, and if you learn that, the topic becomes quite easy. So y minus b is equal to m times x minus a. Now, you're substituting in m, but we know m is the gradient, and sometimes you've got to work it out just like I did in the previous slides. Now, these values a and b come from any point, so that's a point on your line. So the x coordinate is a, and the y coordinate is b. So this first one here, we want to find the equation of the line that passes through the point 215 and has got a gradient of 3. So we're going to gather our information together for 1, and we know the gradient is equal to 3. Somebody's already worked that out for us, okay, so that's already been done, but more than likely you'll have to do that first. So that's information we've got. If I want to find the equation of the straight line, but I know the equation that I've got to substitute into is y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. So we know m is 3, and this is a, and that is b. So dead easy. You leave y, you're taking away b, so I'm taking away 15. And I know that that's equal to m. I know the gradient is 3. And in brackets you've got x minus a, which is x minus 2. There's no fraction involved there, so we'll just multiply out that bracket. So y minus 15 is equal to 3x's minus 6. We want to get to the form where we have y equals mx plus c. That's how we work this out until it gets down to that. So we've got the y terms here, but we've got an extra take away 15, so I need to get rid of that. So we add 15 onto both sides, and when I add 15 onto both sides, the equation of that line becomes y is equal to 3x's, and 15 take away 6 is going to be plus 9. And that's it in the format of y equals mx plus c. So from that equation, I know the gradient is 3 because it's the number in front of x, that it's there. We knew that anyway. But I also now know that the y-intercept is 9. So the y-intercept for this line is 9, and the coordinates of it are 0, 9. It's where it cuts the y-axis, so it's 0 and then 9. Okay, we're going to do another one. Okay, for this one, we want to find the equation of the line that passes through the point 412 and m is equal to 3. So we've got the gradients, that's okay. So we've got our y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. So I've got m, so m is equal to 3. I've got the point in the line which is 412. That tells me a, and it tells me b. So that's a is 4 and b is 12. So we sub it into that. So y minus b is y minus 12. It's equal to m, which is 3 bracket x minus a. So it's x minus 4. No fractions involved, so I can multiply out the bracket. And that gives me 3x's minus 12. Don't want that number to be there, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides. So add 12 on there, add 12 on there, and that gives me y is equal to 3x's, that is 0. So be extra, that tells me the gradient is 3 because it's the number in front of x, but I knew that anyway. And the y-intercept this time, the y-intercept has got to be 0 because that's plus 0, there's nothing there. So y-intercept is 0, the coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, 0. Now, this is both of those things combined. So it says find the equation of the line joining the points. So we've got 2 points there. So the first thing I need to know is I need to work out the gradient. So I'll take gradient, and it's y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So I've not been given it, I've got to work it out this time. So we're going to label those points. We've got the 2 points. First point, that's x1, that's going to be y1, that's going to be x2, and that's going to be y2. So when I sub all of that in, y2 minus y1 is 14 take away 2, and that's divided by x2 minus x1, which is 5 minus 1. So when I work that out, I get 14 take away 2 is 12, divided by 5 take away 1 is 4. 12 divided by 4 gives me a gradient of 3. So that's me. I've had to work out the gradient. Now I want to find the equation of the line. So to get the equation, I've got to think about the equation, the general equation, I substitute a point and a gradient into, and that is y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. So I've got a choice. I can either pick that point or that one. I'm going to pick the point 1, 2 because it's smaller numbers. And we now call that A and we call that B. Again, it doesn't matter which point you choose, but pick one that's maybe not got negative signs in it and it's a bit easier to use. So y minus b becomes y minus 2 is equal to 3 bracket x minus 1. No fractions, so y minus 2 is equal to 3x's minus 3. Remember, the general equation of any straight line is y equals mx plus c. That's how we want it to look. So I don't want that minus 2 to be there, so I'm going to add 2 onto both sides. So plus 2 there, plus 2 there. And when I do that, I get y is equal to 3x's minus 3 plus 2 is minus 1. And that's my equation of that straight line. Now, from that, it looks like that one. Gradient is 3, but we knew that anyway from up here. But this time, the y-intercept, we can read that. Y-intercept is negative 1. That means it's cutting the y-axis at negative 1, and the coordinates are 0, negative 1. So, re-sketch, that looks like that's your y-axis. We have a straight line sloping uphill, and down here it's cutting at minus 1. That's your x-axis and your y-axis. I'm going to do this one because it's sloping downhill, so I know the gradient should turn out to be negative. So we've got 2 points. To get the equation of a straight line, I need to know a coordinate of 1. I've got 2 points, that's okay. 1 coordinate, I've got 2 coordinates, so I've got enough information there. But I need to know the gradient. So we're back to gradient is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Label our 2 points. I'll take that as the first one, x1, and that's y1. I'll take that as the second one, which is x2, and that's y2. So when I sub that in, y2 minus y1 is minus 5 minus 15, all divided by x2 minus x1, which is 13 minus, but that's negative 7, so I've got a double negative there. So when I work that out, I've got minus 5 minus another 15 is minus 20, and that's divided by 13 plus 7, which is 20. So 20 divided by 20 is 1, and the little minus sign there, so the gradient is minus 1. And I knew it was negative because it's sloping downhill. Right, I can easily then get the equation now. So to get the equation, I know the formula that I'm subbing into is y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. So, gather our information. Gradient I've worked out to be negative 1, and I'm going to choose one of the points. I'll just choose that one, minus 7, 15. And that then becomes, when we're subbing this in, the first one becomes A, that becomes B. So I've got y minus b, so y minus 15 is equal to the gradient, which is negative 1, times x minus a, but we've got a minus 7 there. Okay, double negative. So I've got y minus 15, and that's going to be equal to negative 1 times x plus 7. So then we have to multiply out the brackets. There's no fraction in it, so I can just straightforwardly multiply that out. So that's minus x minus another 7. I want it in the form y equals mx plus c. Don't want that 15 there. I'm going to add 15 onto both sides. And when I do that, I get y is equal to negative x, and that's the same as minus 7 plus 15, which is 15 take away 7, which is going to be plus 8. Now, to understand what that straight line is, the gradient is negative 1, but we knew that anyway. The y-intercept, which is c, the symbol is c, is 8. The coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, 8. And what that would look like if you sketched it and plotted it all down, it's got a gradient of negative 1, so it's sloping downhill, so it's a line that's coming down like that, and the y-intercept here where it cuts the y-axis, is 8. And your gradient is -1. And that's a wee picture of it. So to finish this off, there's two formulas you need to know. You need to know that the gradient is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. You must learn that. Okay, so it's straightforward, dead easy if you know your gradient formula. If you want to find the equation, then you need to know two things. You need to know a point, and you need to know the gradient. So you will have worked out the gradient like that. That's got a symbol M. And any point in the line, the first coordinate is A and the second coordinate is B. And you must learn y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. Okay, so once you've mastered that, it becomes quite straightforward. I'm going to do a couple where you get negative gradients. Okay, so I'm going to pretend we've worked out a gradient and we've got a negative value, just to show you how you sub that in. So if you had something like a 0.24, but the gradient was equal to, we'll make it minus a third. So we're substituting, we've got a point in the gradient, y minus b is equal to m bracket x minus a. And we know from that point that that's got to be a and that's got to be b. So when I sub them in, y minus b is y minus 4 is equal to minus 1/3 bracket x minus a, which is x minus 2. Now, when you have got a fraction, you can multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of that fraction. So you take it in turn, that becomes 3y. 3 times that becomes minus 12. And when you multiply, this whole side's a package. So when you multiply that whole side by 3, that cancels, and you're just left with basically minus 1 times x minus 2. We can get rid of that bracket. So 3y minus 12 is equal to minus x plus 2. Don't want the negative 12, so I'm going to add 12 onto both sides, add 12 on there, and when I do that, I get 3y is equal to negative x plus 14. And that's your equation of your straight line. Now, it's okay to leave it as 3y, but sometimes you've got to rearrange them and just write it down as y. If you're asked for your equation, you don't need to do this, okay? So divide it all by 3, so y is equal to, that's equivalent to minus 1x, so minus 1 divided by 3x's. 3 doesn't divide into 14, so it's okay to write it as 14 over 3. Okay, so that's it rearranged. Right, so that's you know how to work out the gradient, you know how to find the equation of a straight line. There's one other thing that you're asked, okay, and you probably will be asked this in your exam. So the questions that you had where you had to rearrange an equation so that you could read off the gradient and the y-intercept. So this all hinges on the equation of your straight line looking like y equals mx plus c. That's the final format. So if you've got 1y, your equal sign, and it's in that form with your x's and c, then you just read off the number, not the x, just the number in front of x tells you the gradient, and the last number at the end is your y-intercept. Right, so we'll start off with an easy one. So if we've got y is equal to 2x's plus 4, that tells me the gradient is equal to 2, and it tells me that c is equal to 4. The coordinates of the y-intercept will be 0, 4. If I've got y is equal to minus a half x minus 2, the gradient from that one is a number in front of x, which is negative a half. The y-intercept is c is a number at the end, so c is equal to negative 2, and the coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, negative 2. Now, they're deemed to be too easy for you in 4th year, so what they do is give you ones where you've got to rearrange. So it might be something like you've got 4y is equal to 8x's plus 12. Now, I've got to have it in the format with just one y. So the y is okay, it's on the left-hand side. The numbers and x's are on the right hand side, so it's in the correct format. It's just that there's 4y and I don't want 4y, I only want 1y. So I'm going to take that whole equation and divide it by 4. So that gives me y is equal to 8 divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that's the equation of that line. So it's back to those easy ones. So the gradient is the number in front of x, so the gradient is 2. The y-intercept c is 3. The coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, 3. So that's one wee thing you have to do if you've got 4y, 2y, 10y, etc. Okay, so that's that one done. Right, so we're going to look at when we've got two things to change. So it might be something like you've got 2y, take away 3x's is equal to 5. Now, bear in mind, we're looking to get 1y is equal to so many x's plus a number, plus or minus a number it would be. So we want this whole equation to look like that. So we look and we say, right, what's wrong with it? Y is okay, it's on the left-hand side, but I really don't want that to be there. So that's got to go to the other side. So we need to undo that. So instead of taking away 3x's, we're going to add 3x's onto both sides. Now, there won't be any other x's on that side. So you just write down your 2y is equal to, x's come first, so it's 3x's, add on 5. So I'm getting there. I've got the y's, I've got the equal sign, I've got the x's, and I've got the numbers at the end. I don't have 1y, I've got 2y. So I've still got something to do. I need to divide all of that by 2. So divide that by 2. 3 doesn't divide by 2, so I can write it as a fraction. 3 divided by 2x's. 5 doesn't divide evenly by 2, so I can write it as 5 over 2. So that's now y, the equal sign, a number in front of x, and a number at the end. So the number in front of x tells me that the gradient is equal to 3 over 2, and the y-intercept c is the number tagged at the end is 5 over 2. The coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, 5 over 2. Okay, right, one more. What happens if we have got something like 2x's plus 5y minus 4 is equal to 0? So we're still thinking back to this y equals mx plus c. That's the format that you want it to be in. So what's the wrong places here? Right, y is okay, it's sitting there, so I can leave that there. But I don't want that to be on that side, and I don't want that to be on that side. I want it to be over the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to take 2x's away from that side, and I'm going to add 4 on to that. I've got to do the same to be fair. Take 2x's away and add on 4. So when I do that, that disappears. I've got 5y, plus 4 minus 4 disappears, and then I've got minus 2x's, add on 4. So at least I've got them all in the right places. I've got the y term on the left hand side, I've got the equal sign, I've got the x's, and I've got the numbers. But I'm still not there because it's more than 1y. I've got 5y, so we're going to divide it all by 5, so that becomes y. 2 you can't divide by 5, so you write it as a fraction. 4 you can't divide by 5, so you write it as a fraction. So now I've got y equals a number in front of x and a number. I can read off the gradient. So gradient is equal to negative 2 over 5, and your y-intercept c is a number tagged at the end without the x, which is 4 over 5. And if you want the coordinates of the y-intercept, it's 0 along and 4/5 up the way. And that gives you your gradient and your intercept. Right, one last one. So for this one, if we have got something like 5x's minus 3y, and that's minus 11, and that's equal to 0. So we're sticking this wee formula up here, y equals mx plus c. As a reminder, we want 1y equals sign, x's and numbers. So all of that looks pretty much all messed up. Now, if I read that round the other way and put the 0 first and write down the 5x's minus 3y minus 11, that means that there's only one thing now in the wrong place, and it's that. If I can get that over to the other side, then I've got the y's, the equals, the x's, and the numbers. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 3y onto both sides, add 3y on there. So I've got 3y is equal to the 5x stays where it is. They've disappeared now, and I've got minus 11. Don't want 3y, it's got to be 1y, so I'm going to divide it all by 3. 5 doesn't divide evenly by 3, so right, it's a fraction, 5 over 3, and the wee x is there. 11 doesn't divide by 3, so right, it's 11 over 3. It's now 1y is equal to a number in front of x, a number tagged at the end. So I can read off from that the gradient is equal to 5 over 3. Gradient is just a number, right? There's never an x in there. Okay, the x is not counted, it's the number in front of the x, so it's just 5 over 3. Your y-intercept C is minus 11 over 3. The coordinates of your y-intercept are 0, minus 11 over 3.